Hey, everybody. Welcome to Trust Your Body again. My name is Kelly. Thank you all so much for joining me for this workshop. And I hope you do find something in it that really resonates with you. Everyone has different likes and dislikes in terms of their physicality and what they like to do. And sometimes it's yoga, sometimes it's walking, running, gardening. But what this is all about is just trying to tap in and back in to your body after you've lost that little bit of trust. I welcome you all. Thank you so much. And I'm going to have you start just seated in a comfortable position with your chair. Your back can be against the chair. If you have a strap, please have it handy. If you don't, we're going to offer alternative poses. So you don't need one. I'm just going to show you what to do with it. This isn't a very pose heavy class. This is a lot of tapping in. It's a lot of focus and kind of sharing with me, with you, to you, some experiences and maybe back in some little back and forth chats once in a while. Well, I appreciate you being here. Let's all start by sitting back in the chair and maybe closing the eyes. As people come in, we'll just be breathing, slowing down our breath. So I call this coming in for a landing, right? We're all coming from different spaces, different energy levels, maybe from lunch, maybe from someplace else, maybe we're rushing. So it's a good idea to take just a few moments to close the eyes and just focus on the inhale and exhale through the nose. Just closing the eyes and focusing. If you have your ringtones on, etc., try to remember to turn them off or silence, just that you have this hour where you can really focus. As you're breathing, I'm going to ask you a question. Can you think of a time when you lost trust in your body? For most of us, it shouldn't be hard to find it. It's usually top of mind. You kind of know when that happens. Maybe you have to do a little bit more digging. Just take a moment to figure out for yourself what is the moment in time when you lost trust in your body. So while you're thinking of that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and my own story. I'm coming from a very similar place. When I was 37, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. I had three children. I was a marathon runner, ultra marathons. I ran ridiculous amounts, vegan, kind of what everyone would consider doing everything correctly when I was diagnosed. So, having had that diagnosis, um, I felt extremely betrayed. Um, I felt very much that I was someone who, hey, I was doing everything right. This should be easy. What happened after that is an exploration into the practice of yoga. I did not start yoga till I was 40 years old. Again, I was fairly resistant to yoga, but I used it as my vehicle to get back in contact with myself. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about some tools, things that you can do, things that I've learned through my experience, and things that I've learned through the practice of yoga that can maybe help you. So now that you're thinking of a time when you lost trust in your body, when you thought of it, what sensations or emotions come up? For example, my emotion was I was very fearful, betrayed. I felt angry and anxious. Those were some of the words I used. Now, everyone's different, and the language doesn't have to be fancy. It could be very simple. But just take a moment and just acknowledge when you thought of that moment of losing trust, what sensations or emotions came up. By labeling these feelings, we create space between us and the feeling, and that can lead to acceptance. For example, when I first was diagnosed, I asked, why me? All the time. Why me? Why me? And then I created a little space by creating that question and understanding it. Why not me? Right? Pain is inevitable, right? But suffering is another story because pain plus resistance equals suffering. So let's take a moment, if you want to, in the chat to put maybe one of those feelings. It could just be to me. It's anonymous. So just to me. If you want to put down something that you don't want anyone else to know, or you can put it in the general chat, some of the feelings that you felt when you were thinking about that time that you lost trust. Or, of course, anything you'd like. You can sit with the feeling. Ah, yes. Frustration, anger, discouragement, anxious, weakness. That's a big one. That's a big one. And as an athletic person, I felt like weak, which I never had felt before. That was one that resonated with me just then too. Anxiety. So when we create that little bit of space and we label the feelings, we can let it go. We create the space so we can create santosha, which is a niyama from the yoga practice. It means acceptance, right? And that's a hard thing. It's not easy to accept, and it's not always a linear path to acceptance. It's sometimes a continual renewal of that acceptance, right? Let's breathe a little bit more here. What causes us to lose trust in our bodies? There's multiple ways. First of all, aging, which is something none of us can avoid, right? None of us can avoid aging. That's just inevitable. Um, Traumatic injury, regular injury, or illness, societal pressures, believe it or not, societal pressures and stress. These can all cause us to lose that connection. Think about stress for a minute in our day to day life and how things get so busy that we can't do our normal practice, whether it's working out, whether it's gardening, whether it's a hobby, whatever that is, we get that little bit of stress and it piles up and that leads to us not doing those things that create peace in us, right? So that also loses us or teaches us to have disconnect with our body. So while we're here, the first stage for me to feel more connected to the body is the breath. We are going to add movement, but we're going to take about 4-ish minutes, which is feels like quite a long time, to practice a breathing exercise. What this is going to do is going to create focus in the here and now, the acceptance of what is. We are here. We're not going to think about what's before us or behind us, and we're going to breathe in this way. At any time you can breathe normally if it feels uncomfortable, that's another thing about the practice of yoga. I'm back. I just blanked out, not sure why. Zoom went down, but here we are. We're recording still, make sure. Awesome. Perfect. So, hands to the tops of the thighs, eyes closed. Take an inhale to the count of 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause. Exhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're really barreling out. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, four, pause, exhale, five, four, three, two, one. Deep breath in through the nose. Sigh it out. Breathe normally and gently open the eyes. So, just that little bit of a breath exercise kind of focuses the mind to start. But what it also does is it stimulates the vagus nerve. This nerve is in charge of our parasympathetic nervous system that controls our relaxation response. So, it just gets us into the mode of calmness, of focus, something that most of our day to day life doesn't allow. The constant barrage of images, the constant barrage of activity, news, whatever it is that will allow you to take a moment and just relax that nerve. So let's try that again together. Let's close the eyes. And this time, I'd like you to notice the quality of your breath, how it feels, and ask yourselves these questions. What are you feeling physically? What are you experiencing a feeling along with that physical sensation? And what is your experience? And we can talk about that when we're done. Take an inhale to the count of one, two, three, four, pause, exhale, five, four, three, two, one. Inhale, one, two, three, four, pause, exhale, five, four, three, two, one. One more. Inhale, one, three, four, pause, exhale, five, four, three, two, and one. Breathe normally. And then those questions, what are you feeling physically? Are you experiencing an emotion? And what is your experience with the breath? Gently open the eyes. Awesome. If you want to write what if you felt something physically or felt an emotion and what your experiences was in the chat, please share it. I know for me, when I'm sitting in those moments where I'm like, ooh, I start because my mind wanders no matter what. I start to think of, oh, my stomach's not great. Oh, I'm hungry. Oh, my shoulder hurts. These kind of things. And sometimes the feeling I attach to it is this negative feeling. Oh, I'm old, whatever that is. But what I'd like you to try to notice is the talk, right? The things that we say to ourselves when we look in the mirror, things we would probably never think to say to anyone else, a stranger. So it's almost like we're trying to treat ourselves as our own friend, right? We're going to be as kind in language to ourselves, hopefully, as we are to a friend. But that's not always what happens. So that's just another way to get trust in the body is by trusting it, by allowing it to feel and be the way it feels in those moments, and also creating some grace for those feelings. Awesome. We're going to do one more breath exercise. And this is one that I really love, where we're going to inhale three times, like inhale, 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 and slowly exhale. So three short bursts of breath and then the slow exhale. Again, don't have to do it. If it's something you don't feel comfortable with, just breathe normally in and out through the nose. Let's start. All the air out. Inhale one, inhale two, inhale three, exhale. Inhale one, inhale two, inhale three. Exhale. Last one. Inhale one, inhale two, inhale three, exhale. Wonderful. What did you notice about those three breath exercises that I have in common? It is the length of the exhale is far longer than the inhale, right? So that exhale longer is what stimulates the vagus nerve and allows our relaxation response. Even breaths are just as perfect. If you want to do even breaths, that's great. But that little bit longer exhale will bring you into a deeper state of relaxation. Let's talk a little bit about the physical aspect of the practice of yoga and how it can help you trust your body again. So, few things. We're just going to connect our breath with our movement for the most part. There's no real perfect pose. We're just going to make sure we are connecting breath with movement, like a moving meditation. It helps us make a connection with our physical body, our breath, in the present moment, right? So we are going to be in this together. And I really love that aspect of it. So just this movement we're going to do for a while. And the first one we're going to do is cat cow. We can do it seated. I do it quite often seated. I'm going to kind of hike myself up on the chair. Let me actually back up a little so you can see what I look like. And the waist down, right? I'm still not there. Sorry. I like to be up close when I start. All right, so you can kind of see where I am. Have your hands to the knees like so, so that my arms are straight, right? And my shoulders are stacked over the hips. This is seated mountain pose. We're aligning the spine. I'm sure if you've done a yoga practice, you've done cat cow, but we're going to really focus on what's happening in the breath. So this is going to slow this cat cow down a lot. On your next inhale, we're going to take our shoulder blades, draw them in towards each other, down towards the hips, and lift the chest and chin up. That's an inhale through the nose. As you exhale, starting at the tailbone, tuck the tailbone, draw the navel in towards the spine and round the shoulders, chin to chest. Inhale, slow all the way up. Exhale, we round. So try to connect. So as you're doing this, please connect. And again, those questions are going to come up. What are you feeling physically? Are you experiencing a feeling? Is it negative or positive? What is your experience? Now, for example, when I first started my practice at 40 years old, I was pretty not, I thought I was more coordinated than I was. So I remember finding some of these coordination of the breath and movement a little challenging. But what our goal is here is not to be perfect, but to expand. We're expanding in a lot of different ways. That expansion is in the breath, in the lungs. The expansion is in our spinal cord. So when we do flexion and extension of the spine, keep going. What we're doing is creating space between the vertebra. A healthy spine makes the rest of us healthy, right? Everything we have from the crown of the head runs down the column of the spine, the brain, everything, the nerve endings. So when we create these spaces, right, we are connecting that mind and body and breath and just creating a healthier foundation. So if you can do this, you're making a mind body connection. Let's come back up through center and hold for a moment. Now, remembering those three questions as you sit upright, what are you feeling physically? Are you experiencing a feeling, positive or negative? Try to name it. What was your experience? So, in that moment when you're sitting at a desk and not moving, doing that can feel really good. I got to release. I like that one. That's a good one. Um, yes, expanding, releasing something. There's something there when we don't trust, we feel very bunched up and internal, fearful, right? There's a fear element, there's an unknown. But when we are moving and breathing, it's happening in the present moment. Things are working as they're supposed to, right? We can trust that our body is making this movement. Doesn't mean it's not without pain, but with the acceptance of what is with the acceptance of where we are right now, something we can be proud of. We can release some tension and anxiety. Perfect. Now with that cat cow, that's going to bring us to another spinal movement. Yoga's about the spine for me, most. And so, what we're going to talk about is side bending and rotation. As we age, side bending and rotation become harder and harder. And when we rotate, for example, we also stimulate the vagus nerve or the rest and digest system. So as we age and we can't turn, anxiety can become greater because we don't have that other aspect of our movement to help us with that. So let's start hands right on the tops of the thighs. So we're sitting at the center of the chair in seated mountain. We're going to take a twist by bringing the left hand to the top first, to the top of that right thigh. And then the right hand comes behind you. We'll take an inhale and let the chest lift. Again, we want to create length. And then exhale, look over the shoulder. If you can, if the neck allows, sometimes it doesn't allow, and that's okay. You can keep the chin in line with the chest if that's more comfortable. We're really dealing with the spine from the neck down, basically, here, as best we can. Deep breaths, just hold and breathe. And again, those questions, are you experiencing a sensation? It can be challenging to hold this, right? You can feel that tension, little discomfort, but we're naming these things, right? We're renaming our feelings. Come back to center and just hold for a moment. Now, I actually notice the sensation in the body on one side versus the other. Like I feel a little lopsided. Eventually, as you practice, you will notice the sensational differences side to side. Let's go to the other side. Left hand behind, right hand to the top of the thigh. On my shoulders always crunch up by my ears, so let's draw them down if you can. Shoulder blades down towards the hips. We're going to take that twist. And we breathe. And again, we're always thinking the spine is long, creating space, expanding, grace, expanding, creating more space for ourselves, kindness. Like how amazing I can twist in this way, even the little bit I can. Nice deep breaths. And let's come on back to center and hold. So that's going to bring me to, again, more of the aging process of, of what causes us to stop trusting our body. When we can no longer turn our heads and look behind us, when we can no longer do those things like pick something off the ground without our back kind of going out, that feels scary and limiting. What we weren't trying to keep though is that thought of we're expanding within the confines of what we can do. So that's going to bring me to the strap. Now, if you have a strap, wonderful. If not, don't worry. But I always highly recommend one simply because it allows us to be in a pose that we may not get into, that we would avoid because we can't get into it comfortably, instead of doing it the best we can as we are. So we're going to do a little shoulder opener and a heart opener. Because again, I was talking about we clench like this when we don't trust ourselves, we don't carry ourselves with this open heart. So we're going to open our hearts for just a moment. First, we're going to bring the elbows out to the side and squeeze our shoulder blades like so. Yes, so the heart is lifted, pressing down in the feet. There's a lot of energy here. Just notice how that feels. Melt the shoulders. It can be very challenging. If it is too challenging, bring the arms out to the side or behind the head, whatever arm formation feels more comfortable. We're just going to breathe here. So stay here and notice what happens. Sometimes, I know for myself, once I open my chest, I feel a little bit more, oh no, why does this feel unstable, right? Because it's uncomfortable. We're just going to breathe here. Good. Let's bring the hands down. What are you feeling physically? Are you experiencing an emotion with that? I know for me, sometimes if I go into a pose that feels challenging, I beat myself up. That's it's kind of a lot. Why we stop to trust ourselves is because we are ourselves. So when we talk to ourselves in that way and feel that way, sometimes we don't know who to trust when it comes to that. So let's bring the strap. Let's try this into the right hand. I'm going to bring the strap up like this. If you do not have a strap, all you're doing is raising your arm and bending your elbow. You're going to feel this right here in your tricep. If you have a strap, you take your left hand, shoulder drops forward, and reach back for the strap. I'll show you from the back. As you can see, my shoulders are way wide apart. And most of ours are. Walk your hands up the strap as close as they can come. We'd like to keep that right elbow in. If you don't have a strap, all you're doing is taking that left hand, bringing it right here to the top of that right elbow. Same thing, right? We're just going to do a little bit different, side to side. Or you don't need a strap. You can just bring your hand behind you and let your fingers fly out of that right side. And we just hold here and breathe and notice again, what are you feeling? Are you experiencing anything physically? I know the triceps always feel like something, whether we're working them or stretching them. And what is your experience? Good. Let's release the strap and notice for a moment and just bring the shoulders down. One side, does it feel different than the other? Right? When we pay attention to what's happening, we can make modifications side to side, forward and back. We do other things if we need to. So if that didn't feel great, you do something different on the other side. Or you try and see very clearly that one side is going to be very different than the other. So then the strap goes into the left hand. We bring that arm up and bend the elbow. You can take, again, right hand to the top of the left elbow, reach back for the strap or the hand. I'm going to melt my shoulders. Every time I'm in this position, I notice this of myself. So I'll say it to you. My tailbone juts out, my chest comes forward, my belly. I do this craziness, and I have to tuck the tailbone just slightly, pressing into the feet so I'm in the shoulders and not my back. So maybe that's you as well. I always like to mention the things I do, you know, so that everybody knows that we all do stuff to accommodate, compensate for tightness, right? All right, couple more breaths. Good. And then let's release. Strap. And notice, notice one side was different. I know one side I can almost touch, and the other is like a mile apart. I can't even remotely get there. That's normal. Everybody has side to side differences. We have dominant sides, we have injuries, but it's good to try to stretch that out and get the heart nice and open. Hopefully, the feels good, right? You feel that openness, collarbone spread, expanding in our own body. Let's do a side bend. That's the other movement of the spine. That is a wonderful one to do when you're sitting, when you just have a moment to release the spine and create space and connection. So the right arm stays down or hooked onto your chair. The left arm comes up, and we're just going to slightly bend to that right side. Both feet and sit bones firmly planted. So if you start to lift your hip, drop it down. It's more important to have alignment than to be over super far. There's no deeper a stretch if I'm lifting off the side as if I'm just like this, right? Because you got to allow for that space that you've created underneath. So keep that foundation nice and strong. Deep breath. Beautiful. Let's come on back. Good. Bring that hand down. Notice. What are you feeling physically? Any sensations that come up? Good. All right. Other side. Left hand down, right arm up and over. The thing about the practice of yoga that I find the most appealing in terms of how it's helped me kind of build back my trust in myself is that there's a moment to pause and listen. There's a moment to actually feel the effects of what you've done. And in that, there's a deeper understanding. And I really love that bring the hand down. I was running so much and pounding the ground and loving it, love it. But I didn't stop afterwards and sit and feel the sensation in the body and understand things. I just went on to the next task. I didn't even know the endorphins had kicked in because I was already cooking dinner or going back to work. So that's why this practice is so good with getting in tune with something that you've lost trust in as you start to build a relationship again. So in that side bend, what I was feeling was this deep stretch here. I was also feeling this, I said, a little sore, and I'm just paying attention, doing what I can with what I have where I am. So side bends, rotations, cat cow, and shoulder opener. Those are all good things to do when you just need a moment to reconnect, when maybe you're not feeling so great, but it's something that you can do to reconnect with yourself. All right, we have another pose that we're going to do, then introduce before we move on to other things. It is mountain pose, standing. So we're not going to do anything fancy, but mountain pose is literally standing on our own 2 feet. Okay, so if you can come to a standing position. Now, I don't know if you can or feel like it, but you can, of course, take your shoes off. And I do this quite often because for me, this is how I feel I can recenter myself in chaos. So, for example, I was in the airport last week. I was in Atlanta and it was wild. And I stood waiting for I must have looked crazy for my flight with my into asana like this, like just standing, just to ground, just to connect and to feel like I'm standing on my own 2 feet in a solid pose. We're going to start from the ground up. So take a look at your feet. Even if you have shoes on, maybe spread the toes in the shoes and just feel all 4 corners of the feet on the floor. So the mound under the big toe, the mound under the pinky toe, and the backs of the heels. Right? So we're just standing and just noticing. Hands maybe rock a little further forward on the foot. Maybe draw yourself a little back, right? Forward and back. Ooh, just a tiny bit. No toppling over. And then rolling to the outer border of the foot. And rolling in, lifting the pinky toes. That's a hard one. Lifting the big toes and pinky. Good. And just notice. Good. And forward and back. Take a look down at your feet. Make sure your heels are hiding behind the toes. Sometimes we tend in our natural state to let the toes out or too far in. Let's try to make sure the hip sockets, and heels are lined up, right? Sometimes when we say hip distance, people think outside. We want to be inside, right? We want to be nice and stable here. Bring your hands by your side. So now that you've felt the feet on the floor, lift up through your kneecaps so that you feel the engagement of your quadriceps. Well, they're engaged, they're standing, and then kind of let them go. And now we're noticing what's happening in the pelvis. Is your tailbone jutting out, posterior way, or an anterior way, tucking down? We'd like to keep a very neutral pelvis so that we're not spilling. It's like a bowl, right? We don't want to spill the liquid too far forward or too far back. So we're going to center, nice level pelvis. Shoulder blades draw in towards each other to shine the heart up. Palms face forward and the shoulder blades draw towards your hips. Crown of the head lifts up and your head is centered on the shoulders. It should feel really weird. We don't stand like this all the time. Totally normal. As a matter of fact, sometimes it feels like completely weird. Like this can't be aligned. I feel like I'm out of alignment. You look down, but you're in alignment. What that is we've gone so long. I stand like this, or, I do, that we don't realize that this is our healthy alignment, right? That's the disconnect. And once you come into this alignment, imagine that there's like a little butterflies on each side of your ears or birds pulling the ears gently back, almost like a slight double chin. Not really, but just a slight pull back. This is your alignment. This is mountain pose, Tadasana. It generates a lot of energy. When I stand in this position, I breathe different. I'm getting those deep inhales, deep exhales. Close the eyes. What are you feeling physically? What are you tapping into in a physical sense? Are you experiencing a negative or positive feeling? Beautiful. Now let's relax. Just let it go and see how you feel. So when you release that position, it feels very different in your body. I know it does for me. I'm like, wow, I was just standing so powerfully, the power from the ground up. And in that feeling of power comes more trust. Look what your body can do. It can stand in alignment, perfectly designed for the world, right? The world we live in, the world we can walk through. And we stand in this powerful position and we feel that good, powerful energy. And that's what I like to do to wake myself up. Now I'm going to move a little bit with my arms in this position. This is something I also do to create a connection when I'm feeling a little bit of disconnect. Take an inhale. We're going to reach the arms out and up. This is called Urdhva Hastasana in Tadasana. So it means you're in mountain pose with your arms up over your head. Exhale, let's push the air away through the nose. Exhale. Inhale, scoop the air up. Lots of energy in the arms. You're pushing and then push the air away. So just these little connecting movements really make a difference. Inhale and exhale. One more and exhale. And then let's just let the arms rest by your sides. If you've ever, as a kid, I was raised in the 70s, stood between a doorway and pressed the hands against the doorway really hard and then walked out of the doorway and the arms lift automatically. That's how I feel when I do this because as I'm lifting, I'm scooping that air. I'm really engaging the arms and pressing away. So there's a I'm very active in the movement and in control of that movement. It feels really good, but I'm also accepting where I am. Santosha, this is where I am right now. This is all I need to think about, and this is working. So it's a very freeing feeling. Awesome. We're going to do another seated pose, but I want to talk to you a little bit about another way we can start to build trust in our bodies. Every day, and this is not something that not everybody might want to do or feel like doing. It's called journaling. I like to start my day every day with a little line across it, what day it is, what the weather is, very specific on the weather because I am actually affected by the weather. Maybe you are as well. So I always put the weather and then write about the practice that I just did or my moment of meditation or what the breakfast was like. And then that naming again and labeling of my feelings, of my physical presence during the day, um, it just again brings me some sort of solace when I look back and I'm looking at things. I go, oh, that happened this day or this happened that day. And that's how I was feeling. And it tracks how I start to feel and what affects those things. It's again paying attention uh, very closely to how you're feeling at any given time. So if you do journal, it's a great idea. You do a couple breath exercises and you ask yourself those questions. What am I feeling physically? Are you experiencing a feeling, negative or positive? And what is your experience? Right. All right, couple more poses. These are interesting because these are poses that you're going to be still doing. You know, we moved a lot, but our hips and shoulders, we hold a lot of tension, anxiety, and stress. So I like to do some hip openers, hip rotations that are very simple and that shouldn't, that you can do at a desk. So I'll take my right knee in. The first thing I do is I pull that knee in. If it's hard for you to pull a knee in, you can, of course, Bring a strap to the back of the leg. If you gently hold it up, you don't want to cut off the circulation to the back of the knee, or you can bring it to the bottom of the foot, right? So any of those solutions, bring that knee in. And we're going to take that knee gently in a rotation. Very slight. You don't need much, right? We don't need much. We need to just think about gentle movement and the breath. So you're still breathing. We don't want to hold the breath. I know in any activity, I tend to hold my breath. Remind myself. So you'll hear me say breathe. It's because I'm telling myself usually. Good. Reverse the direction of that circle. And again, what are you experiencing? And sometimes this is the leg ones in particular are sometimes the ones where I feel the most anxious because they're the ones I'm most limited in. As I'm aging, previous injuries, that's where I feel it. Good. Bring that foot down and just notice. Just for a moment. Good. We'll bring that other knee in and take those circles. As you can see, these are pretty basic moves, right? We probably done them before. But what's the difference? The difference is we're paying attention. We're just not doing it for the exercise purpose, with a I've got to do this mentality of it must be done for my heart and cardiovascular health. This is about what's happening right now. What can I learn from my own body at this present time, right? What are you feeling? You experiencing a feeling? And then we'll just reverse the direction a little bit. And then bring that leg down and just hold and sit. Ooh, I don't know about you, but I get tired. I suppose I'm lifting my leg, but take a moment, sit up nice and tall, and just breathe. So this would be, if it was my day-to-day activity, the time I would journal. How did that feel? Any feelings come up? And it feels like, you're probably going, really focusing so much on ourselves. This is an hour, this is 15 minutes, this is 10 minutes a day. And we give so much to other people. We just need to take just that little bit of time to make sure we're focusing inward as well. Because I know it's like an hour of us talking about to pay attention to ourselves, but we need to, right? It's going to help us get past that point of mistrust. Take a deep inhale through the nose and sigh it out. Take a moment now that we've completed that little portion. We've got more to do, but just complete that little portion. Take a moment to think to yourself, what are some sensations and emotions that are coming up for you after you've listened and you've moved and you've breathed? And they don't have to be positive, they can be anything. And I will call them out without names. Put something in the chat if you can think of something and just notice. I know for me at this stage of my life, I've actually caught myself doing things and thinking about going to the grocery store. So I'm guilty of that. So it could be that as well. But just take a moment, and if you want to share. Oh. Ah, yes. So that's wonderful. Oh, these are wonderful. Okay. The first one is not meditating. Need to stop not meditating. It's true. I trust me, I'm the worst meditator in the world. I resist all the time. I resist myself because it feels like, what am I doing? I'm sitting here, my mind's in a million places, but that's the point. It doesn't have to be perfect. Reflecting on one of these simple movements did not, on whether these simple movements, when these simple movements did not cause any pain or discomfort. That's great. That's good to hear. Um, Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We don't have to do anything out of our comfort zone to reconnect. There's certain practices of yoga, like active yoga or power, that we will, you go into those little more discomfort. But what we're talking about is what we're doing to trust in our bodies again. And that doesn't mean pushing it past the comfort right now. That means, again, accept. We're all going to experience pain. We are all going to, it's inevitable. But suffering isn't inevitable. It's resisting the pain that causes the suffering. So by just doing these kind of movements where you understand where you are physically and emotionally and being okay and being like, this is good enough for today. There's plenty of other days. If it doesn't work today, maybe it'll work tomorrow, maybe not. Just having that relationship where you're as kind to yourself as you would be to one of your kids, one of your friends, right? All right, so let's do a little neck roll. And I know this is interesting, but and it's very, very simplistic. But this really helps me because, again, we hold our tension, trapezius, all up here, all down here in the hips. So let's try a little neck roll. And it's a little different. We're going to draw our chin in like the double chin. So we inhale, exhale here. Inhale, chin juts out and up. Exhale, chin comes down and back. Good. Like you're doing a funny move, like a chicken move with your head. And in. Now, this movement can be super tiny, barely a movement because the cervical spine, tiny, tiny, tiny little bones. We're gentle here. No rush. Good. One more. Good. Ask yourself the questions. Good. Now we're going to turn and rotate that. We did the larger part of the spine. Now the cervical spine. So we're just going to take our chin over to our shoulder. I do like to feel, and this is something I'd love you to try if you can, take the right hand and press the trapezius. It's the muscle that's kind of right at the top of the shoulder, the one that feels like a steel bar that we're always trying to massage. That's the trapezius. Once you've turned your head, just notice. Hey, maybe press into it. And then turn the head, ear to shoulder. If that's too much, don't worry about it. Just bring the head back up. But you're going to feel you rotate like that, that muscle. Oh my goodness. Mine is so tight. Come back up. And we'll do the other side. We turn and then we can touch the trapezius, looking over the left shoulder. Oh, and then ear to shoulder. And then look back over. Just feel that movement. You can feel the muscle move and back. Oh, and look over one more time. And ear to shoulder. And then rest and just notice. So just those like little moves, like we're not making huge circles where we're going to crack, which is gentle, 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 especially with those nerve endings in the back of, right? We want to make very careful with the neck. So that's why I don't do a ton of movement with the head. You get there with the spinal movement, like when you're twisting, but no pulling or anything along those lines. With that being said, take your left ear to left shoulder. If you want more, this is secondary. You can bring your hand right to the top of the head or the ear with a gentle, and this right shoulder comes down, a gentle, gentle movement here. And then release. That's another good one. Right ear to the shoulder, little right hand to the top of the head or ear. Few breaths. And back. Beautiful. Awesome. So those are just a few movements to do with the neck. And now we're just going to hold. We're going to sit here for a moment and breathe and notice. Do you have any feelings right now? Can you label some feelings you might be having in your own mind? You speaking to yourself positively? Is there a general feeling of a little bit more like, hey, felt good. It's okay to feel good, or not so much. And that's okay too. There are no good or bad feelings. They just are. Gently open the eyes. Wonderful. All right. I'm going to teach you a little bit of a meditation, and then we're going to do one last breath exercise. We were talking about making time for meditation, which is so important. And again, my meditations tend to be more active meditations where I'm moving. It just helps me. I have just a difficult time sitting still. As you can see, my hands are going crazy all the time. So let's sit back for a moment. And again, this is something you can do. There's plenty of podcasts that you can listen to, of course, that will guide you in meditation, or you can do your own. I do one that I call the sight, the senses meditation, where we kind of bring our senses online. And the reason I do that one for trusting in your body is because it's physical. You're manifesting something physical in your own mind. So let's sit back, bring the palms down, either face up or down. We're going to be in a resting position. Just a few breaths here, and I will let you relax and settle in. So let's start with thinking visually of a place that we really love, a location, a room, a restaurant. I don't care what it is, a place where you feel calm and settled and happy. It could be a place from childhood or from the present. And I'm going to ask you to look around in that space in your mind's eye. Because for the most part, I bet you can remember almost everything about a space that you really love. And that's going to put our vision to play. But our vision is internal, it's not external. We're looking from the inside. Can you see the color of the walls? Is it sunny or cloudy if you're outdoors? What season is it? I can tell you it's probably summer in my mind because my goodness, long winter. So we can find that little space. And now we're going to bring it to the sound of the space because I imagine there wasn't sound attached to the visual yet. Listen to the space that you've created. For example, if you're on a beach, do you hear waves? Is there wind through the trees? Birds, ticking clocks, heating systems. There's so many sounds around us. We pay very little attention to. We're going to bring our hearing online for a moment. Space now has sound and color. Now I'm going to ask you to notice any sensations in your body that the space has created. Are you sitting on something? Can you feel yourself sitting? Is there a temperature that you can feel and bring in? That's a hard one for me. Oh, wait, is it cold? Is it warm? Is there a breeze? Am I wearing something cozy? Is there a material near me? That touch. Now I want you to notice if you can smell anything. The smell of the air. We're waking up these little pockets in our mind, making a connection with our mind and our body just by doing that. Seeing if we can smell. Like, for example, if I'm at my grandma's house, I always smell garlic. But it's a great memory, and I can remember that kitchen. I can smell that kitchen and feel it. So those are the kind of things, is trying to conjure that feeling and that smell up. And as an exercise, see if you can experience it all at once. See if there's a sensation that you're feeling in your body physically. All of a sudden, I'm feeling my fingers, my toes. Take a few more breaths in this place. And then we'll gently open the eyes. Very interesting. When I go with you into that and I'm talking and I'm visualizing my little space, you speak of it, you do get a different sensation. That's a connection. That's your body responding to things in your memory, in your mind's eye. And that means it does it with our environment as well. So creating that little deeper connection and kind of practicing that so that maybe you're more present actually during your day to day is really, it's really something special. So that's just a fun meditation that you can do that I find extremely helpful. I'm going to leave about a minute here for questions, and then we're going to go into one more breath exercise. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat, or any uh, questions about what we're doing, any questions about your specific situation that I can answer. Everyone else can sit and breathe and move around and side bend and twist, whatever you'd like. Wait. Awesome. All right. Last thing we're going to do is what we call Shavasana. We're just going to sit back in the chair. Oh, I got one. Oh, yay, yay. Is there a best time of day? No. The best time of day is the moments that you can. I do another workshop called Fitting It In, where we talk about how we can fit in our practice. Um, I love at any point where I feel I have 10 minutes, like I could either watch television or or do a little bit of meditation before I go to this appointment, or I have 10 minutes at my desk before it's time for this next meeting. I do it at all times of day. Whatever works for you is the best time. It doesn't matter when, as long as it's happening. I think that that's the key. Uh, and that can be different for everyone. If you're an early riser, early in the morning. If you're late, go to bed late, you do it in the evening, whenever you can have a spare moment. And it feels like very little time, but you only need 10, 15 minutes every other 2 hours. So you don't have to do it an hour at a time or half an hour. It can be a 10-minute exercise. Awesome. Awesome, everybody. We'll sit back and close the eyes just for a few moments. Focus on your breath, focus on the sounds around you. Give yourself a little gift, quiet, and peace. You don't have to be anywhere quite yet. And again, noticing, making sure when you think of those times when you lost trust in your body, you can come back. You can regain that trust by listening, by acceptance and tapping in and paying attention. Gently open your eyes. I'm very proud of you for all joining me today. Thank you so much. I've appreciated your time and your effort and your focus on yourself. Victory to our spirits, peace to all beings. Namaste. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I hope you have a great day. Awesome to meet you virtually. Hope to see you at another workshop sometime.